Now, I'm training for a half marathon. Kimberly Wilson is training for the Philadelphia half marathon after losing 200 pounds. Run coach Tiffany Templeton created a personalized plan for her half marathon training. Wilson's training includes strength, cardio, and run sessions to build endurance and pace. From storyflo, this is your daily audio brief for June 20th. Hey, Mason here. June 20th. The opening read 5 stories that explain today's tape. Let's get into it. First, from Business Insider. I couldn't run for more than 30 seconds a few years ago. I've had a love-hate relationship with running since the presidential fitness test back in the 90s. Running a mile in front of my peers and always being at the back of the pack will certainly do it to you. So, to think nearly 30 years later, I'd be gearing up to run a half marathon almost seems unbelievable. Next, second, from Business Insider. RFK Jr. is making it a hot sauerkraut summer at the White House. Several top men in Trump's cabinet are reportedly loading up on sauerkraut. It's part of a diet plan endorsed by an elite doctor. Fermented foods can improve gut health, reduce inflammation, and increase satiety. Several prominent men in President Donald Trump's cabinet, including Vice President J.D. Vance, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, have been loading up on the fermented food lately in an effort to slim down and improve their gut health. The Wall Street Journal reported, "Welcome to the summer of sauerkraut." U.S. Health and Human Services Sec. Up next, third, from the Indicator NPR Planet Money. The real horror of alien and how it explains why we're not paid enough. Weyland-Yutani is a sort of extreme example of what economists call a monopsony, when one employer dominates a labor market and gains power to underpay and mistreat workers. Sure, it's science fiction, but a growing number of economists argue that monopsony power is a much bigger deal in the real world than previously thought. We watch scenes from the movie Alien with labor economist Aaron Dube, whose new book, The Wage Standard, shines a spotlight on the problem of monopsony power in the modern economy. And then, fourth, from Crusaders newsletter. Evernorth CEO opens up on Ripple's coffee shop magic era ahead of Nasdaq debut. Evernorth CEO Ashish Birla has reflected on the early days of Ripple, describing a period he called the coffee shop magic era, when a small team shaped ideas that would later influence global blockchain payments. Next, fifth, from Pensions and Investments. Private Equity Meeting the Moment. WED, July 15, 2026, 2:00 p.m. EDT, 1:00 p.m. CDT. Private equity is entering a new phase that's defined by higher interest rates, slower distributions, elevated leverage concerns, and a growing focus on liquidity. LPs are scrutinizing GP-LP alignment more closely than ever before, while seeking greater flexibility through secondaries, co-investments, continuation vehicles, and other evolving structures that are reshaping how capital is deployed and returned. Up next, sixth, from PIMS. State AGs probe FIFA World Cup seating and ticketing practices. The attorneys general of 4 states are looking into FIFA ticketing practices around the World Cup. California, New Jersey, New York, and Texas have announced investigations over the last month or so. Law firm Frankfurt Kernet Klein and Sells outlined the investigations in an article posted Thursday, June 18 on Mondac. California Attorney General Rob Bonta said in a May 13 press release that he sent a letter to FIFA seeking information and that he would use that information to assess whether the organization broke the state's laws. Bonta said this move was sparked by reports that FIFA sold TIC. And then, seventh, from PIMS. Finastra sells core banking business to focus on payments and lending. Private capital asset manager Pollen Street plans to acquire Finastra's global core banking software business, Universal Banking UB, and support UB as it becomes a standalone business. Pollen Street will provide investment to UB to help the company accelerate product innovation, strengthen customer delivery, and expand capabilities, the company said in a Friday, June 19 press release. The transaction is subject to customary regulatory approvals, according to the release. Following the transaction, UB will operate as an independent business and will be led by its existing management team. Submitted by QTLR's Fringe Finance. GLJ Research's Gordon Johnson is one of my favorite analysts on the street to read and gets a rare endorsement from me. I hate basically everyone selling sell-side style research because, like my friend Mark Spiegel, he is one of the last few analysts out there. He seems committed to the truth no matter how ridiculous it makes him look in the short term while he's waiting for his theses to play out. Next, eighth, from Zero Hedge. Is the Fed finally done rescuing markets? Johnson came away from this week's Fed meeting with a conclusion that would have sounded almost absurd just a few months ago. The Fed may finally be breaking why. Up next, 9th, from Zero Hedge. SDRC is junk credit in a Bitcoin costume, and retail is holding $8.8 billion of it. Authored by Glenn Cameron via BitcoinMagazine.com, there is now $15 billion sitting in 3 securities being marketed to Bitcoin holders as the safer, smarter way to access Bitcoin exposure strategies preferred stack, SDRC, and SATA. The pitch is identical across all 3. Tax-favored 11.5% income, backed by Bitcoin. Money market risk 82.7% of the buyer base is retail. Every word of that pitch is wrong, and the security those buyers actually own is built to fail in exactly the Bitcoin environment it claims to harness. SDRC is an unsecured, subordinated, perpetual preferred equity. And then, 10th, from Zero Hedge. Here's how 45 countries view America. America remains one of the world's most influential countries, but public opinion of the US varies widely across the globe. Some of its strongest support now comes from emerging economies such as Vietnam, India, and the Philippines, while favorability has weakened across several longtime Western allies. This graphic, via Visual Capitalist's Dorothy Neufeld, ranks how people in 45 countries view the US. That's the read. Watch the tape. Ignore the noise. Back tomorrow.